I never thought I would see the day when I would stand in my own living room and feel something I hadn't felt in decades. Freedom. I had spent years carefully arranging my life around everyone else's needs, whims, and desires. My son Max and his wife Lena had been at the center of my universe, though in reality, I had never really been part of theirs. For 36 months, I had covered their rent, paid for groceries, bought furniture, helped them with car loans, medical bills, wedding expenses, and even small luxuries they claimed they couldn't afford. Every birthday, anniversary, and holiday, I had planned something thoughtful, but no gesture I ever made brought me closer to being truly seen or appreciated by them. The realization hit me on a rainy Thursday when I called to ask Max about his upcoming wedding. Lena picked up before he could answer. She looked me in the eyes and smiled, a smile that chilled me to the bone. "Oh, we got married yesterday," she said casually. "We only invited special people." Special people. I froze. Special people didn't include me, despite the $33,400 I had spent over the past 3 years. The dress I had bought for the wedding still hung in my closet, shoes carefully selected, neatly boxed. And here I was, standing in my own home, feeling invisible in the lives of the people I had raised and loved unconditionally. Max finally spoke, his voice rehearsed and detached. It was a small, intimate ceremony, just us and the witnesses. Lies. I had already seen the social media posts. Lena's family, smiling, celebrating, toasting champagne, wearing the very dresses and suits I had helped pay for. Every detail I had meticulously planned. Every dollar I had generously given. Every moment I had cleared from my life for them. Gone. Ignored. A week later, Lena called again. Desperate, trembling. "Renat, the rent is overdue. The landlord says if we don't pay this week, we'll be kicked out. You forgot to make the transfer." I remembered every bank visit, every canceled appointment, every meal I had skipped to ensure they had what they needed. I had run myself ragged to keep them comfortable, and now, after spitting on my presence during their wedding, they had the audacity to demand my money again. "Lena," I said calmly, feeling a clarity I hadn't experienced in years, "I only help special people." Silence. I heard her stutter. "We were always special to you. You're like a second mother to me." Lies. All lies. Her voice had always changed when she needed something, from extra money for a dress to a honeymoon to rings that I had helped finance. And in the end, I had nothing to show for it but humiliation and a realization that love and money had been dangerously entangled in my mind. I spent that night crying, not from sadness, but anger, frustration, and clarity. I cried for every time they had made me feel burdensome, every sacrifice unacknowledged, every moment I had lost, trying to be indispensable to people who thought I was dispensable. By morning, something had shifted inside me. I looked in the mirror, the same tired eyes, the same wrinkles telling the story of a life given to others, but now I saw determination. Not bitterness, but resolve. I made my first move. I went to the bank and canceled all automatic transfers to Max and Lena. For the first time in decades, my money belonged only to me. I set up a new account, inaccessible to anyone else, a fortress built from years of careful saving and inheritance. They called and texted relentlessly, but I ignored them. For once, I existed for myself first. When I returned home that afternoon, 3 cars were parked outside my house. My blood ran cold. They had keys. I took a deep breath and opened the door. Max, Lena, and a man I didn't know were inside, rifling through my personal papers. "Renai, thank God you're here. We need to talk." "Mr. Fisher is from the law firm we consulted about your situation," Lena said, her voice desperate. My situation? I had been living, fully capable, making my own decisions. They had come to declare me incompetent, to seize control of my finances. They had thought me weak, malleable, easy to manipulate. "I am not confused," I said. "I am clearer than I have been in years, and you are going to leave my house right now." The lawyer attempted a professional intervention. Max claimed concern for my mental health. Lena offered feigned affection. I looked at all 3 of them calmly and finally spoke the truth. "Everything you have planned, every legal maneuver, is about your inheritance, not about me. Out, now." They argued, pleaded, threatened, but I stood my ground. For the first time, the weight of years lifted. I was no longer the silent provider. I was no longer the woman who measured every action to gain affection I would never receive. I was free. The silence after they left was beautiful, almost sacred. It was the sound of decades of sacrifice finally returning to me. I spent that night awake, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through me. The fight wasn't over, but I had reclaimed control of my life, my home, and my finances. The next morning, I met with Mr. Weber, a family law attorney I trusted. We documented every transaction, every instance of coercion, every manipulation. He explained that what I had endured qualified as elder financial abuse. It was a crime. And finally, the law was on my side. Over the next weeks, I changed the locks, installed security cameras, opened a new bank account, and began rebuilding a life I had neglected for decades. I reconnected with old friends I had abandoned for their emergencies. I took trips I had postponed for the sake of their desires. I finally spent money on myself, on comfort, on enjoyment, on independence. Max and Lena continued to call, to send messages, to try to guilt me back into submission. But I had changed. I realized that love is not measured in money and affection cannot be purchased. I was not a resource to be exploited. I was a person with decades of wisdom, resilience, and autonomy. Months later, I walked through my house, now peaceful, secure, and filled with memories that I had chosen to keep, not imposed by others. I thought about Max as a child, the boy who once ran into my arms, trusting, innocent. And I realized that people can change, or not, but that does not diminish my worth or the life I am entitled to live. At 60, I finally learned the hard lesson. You cannot buy love, loyalty, or respect. And if you spend your life trying to do so, you may find yourself empty, exhausted, and forgotten. But if you stand firm, reclaim your boundaries, and honor your own needs, you discover something rarer than money or affection: freedom, clarity, and the courage to live entirely for yourself. And that is exactly what I did.